harrowing images show the horror of intense bombardment in Syria. 7 years after its start, Syria's civil war is more complicated than ever. What started out as an uprising against President Bashar al-Assad has morphed, pulling in global powers, causing chaos among civilians. ISIS has lost control of most of its territory, revealing the combatants in the original war still on the attack. Russia and Iran support the Syrian government in its war on rebel forces. Hezbollah, backed by its sponsor Iran, is also an important player on Assad's side. On the other side, you have a spectrum of Syrian rebel factions, from secular to super-religious, who want to take down Assad's regime. Moderate groups like the Free Syrian Army are backed by Saudi, Turkey and the US. But these two NATO allies, Turkey and the US, also have competing interests in Syria. The US backs the Kurds, represented mainly by the YPG militia, which is considered a terrorist group by Turkey. YPG fighters dominate the US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces, which have been critical in the battle against ISIS. Turkey opened up a new front against the Kurds in northern Syria in January. Adding to the complexity, Syrian pro-government forces are now apparently backing Kurdish forces in the confrontation with Turkey. Meanwhile, there's an escalation between Israel, Iran and Syria. So, even with ISIS beaten back, there are still many groups fighting for control over territory and influence. This is one of the bloodiest and most complex wars in the world today. A war so far without end, with civilians paying the price.
Could this change from a proxy war into a direct shooting war between the US and Russia? In a word, no. The US has signalled its intention to get out of Syria really as fast as it can, possibly in the months ahead. And there's no American domestic political appetite for a longer conflict in the Middle East. Russia itself has enjoyed using Syria, horrifyingly, as a showcase for its new weapons and international influence, but they don't really want to go toe-to-toe with a much better equipped and more practiced US military. There are many ways in which their proxies could escalate the battle. First, we've seen in the past that Russia has sent mercenaries and Syrian militia to try and take territory off the Syrian Kurds in the territory where I'm standing, who are backed by the United States Special Forces here. The last time that happened in February, it was met with ferocious American firepower that killed dozens, if not hundreds, of Russian mercenaries and Syrian militia. They could try it again, and they could possibly use better Russian firepower to back them up. That could lead to a nasty escalation. 2, US troops regularly patrol areas around here. They're on the ground moving about, and that makes them vulnerable possibly to other proxies. Syrian militia, Iranian militia, who could possibly lay roadside mines. That's a vulnerability the White House have to consider when they look at what kind of retaliation they may seek to undertake. But in the broader picture, America's made it clear it may soon leave Syria. It wants to do that, and it's entirely possible that Moscow and Damascus allow them to retaliate in whatever way they choose, sit back and watch Donald Trump's attention span wander somewhere else, and America soon drift out of the Middle East.